Okay, your last section for this year is section 10.8, equations of circles. The equation of a circle with center HN, that's just a point. H is the x value, K is the, I said HN, HK. H is the x value, K is the y value, and a radius R is given by this formula here. It says x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals the radius squared. So basically it's just giving you, anytime you see the equation, this is giving you the center of the circle. All right, it's the opposite sign here. It's the opposite sign. That's going to be the center of your circle. And if you take the square root of whatever number's over there, you're going to get your radius. All right, and from that we can graph it. We can do all sorts of things. How did they get this equation? Well, they got it from the distance formula. If you think about this, if we have a circle with a radius of 4 and a center of 3, 2. So if I go over 1, 2, 3, all right, we can find the equation in that circle. If I go over 3 and then up 2, and it has a radius of 4, all right, so I need to go somewhere 4 units. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this has to be a distance of 4, right? This point right here, which would be it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, be 7, 2, right? That has to be a distance of 4. We know it has a radius of 4. So what we can say, we can do the distance between these 2 points, which is 3, 2 and 7, 2. So we could say, all right, the distance is going to be 4. So we know that the distance equals the square root of x minus x squared plus y minus y squared, right? We know that. Okay, so distance, and we know our distance is 4. Okay, so our distance is 4 equals the square root. Let's find the distance between those two. We go, actually, you know what? Let's make it and that's what they did. They made it more of a general case. Let's just make it any x or y point, any point on this graph. It could be this point up here, point, as long as it's 4, a distance of 4 away. So let's make it an x and y. Forgot how to do my proof a little bit there, but I got her now. All right, so my distance from 3, 2 to any point on that graph, any x or y point, would be x minus 3 squared, because our formula is x minus x, right? Plus y minus 2 squared, right? So any point on that graph, that would be the distance. That's how we'd find the distance to any point on that circle, right? And what they did is they got rid of this square root sign. And when they got rid of that square root sign, all right, to get rid of a square root sign, you have to square both sides. Well, when you square 4, you get 16 equals x minus 3 squared plus y minus 2 squared. And that's how they get the formula there. That's why we know we had a radius of 4. We take the square root of 16 and we get 4. That's our radius. All right. And we know here's our center. This part is our center. Our center is 3, 2. Because we use the distance formula to solve a general case. Hope that makes sense to you. Here's the formula for the circle. And from that, we can write an equation for each circle. It says, write equation of the center. Write equation for each circle. The center is at negative 2, 4. So we pointed out that it's the opposite sign, by the way. So we need to go x plus 2 squared plus y minus 4 squared equals our radius squared. Our radius is 2. 2 squared is 4. So that's how we write the equation of that. Down over here, the center of the origin. The center is at the origin. We have a radius of 3. Well, if the center is at the origin, that means it's 0.00. All right, so we'd go x minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals our radius squared, 3 squared, because that's what our formula up here tells us. So we'd go x minus 0, and 0 can just go away. So x squared plus y squared equals 9. So that's the equation of that circle right there. All right. This next example says a circle with a diameter of 14 has a center in the 3rd quadrant. So somewhere over here in the 3rd quadrant. The lines y equal to negative 1 and x equal to 4 are tangent to the circle. Write an equation of that circle. So y equal to negative 1 looks like this. This graph of that looks like that, right? And then x equal to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks like that. So this circle is tangent to both of those. And tangent, you know, means that it comes up and touches it in one spot for both of those lines, right? So that's just a rough sketch. It could be way off. I don't know. All right. But what we do know is we know that it has a diameter of 14, so which means it would have a radius. All right. So what we can do is from our tangent lines here, we can count 7 in this direction and 7 from this direction, and where that should meet is where our center of our circle is going to be. So if I go ahead and if I count 7 from this line, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All right. We know what we just found is we know where our x value should be at. So we should be at 1, 2, 3. So -3 should be the x value because it's got to be 7 away from this line right here. All right. And we also know that it has to be 7 away. So since we know our x value has to be at -3, since that's 7 away from -1, is that, sorry, x equal to 4, if that makes sense. All right. We know that it has to be 7 away from this tangent line. So 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7. So yeah, actually my circle was way off, and that's fine. All right. So this is actually, let's see, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, -7, -8. -8. So our center of our circle has to be -3, -8. Then they want us to write equation the circle. Well, and that's easy, right? So we just say x minus a -3, which is plus 3 squared. It's the opposite sign, remember? Plus y plus 8 squared equals our radius squared, which is 7 squared. So we have x plus 3 squared plus y plus 8 squared equals 49 would be the equation for that circle. If you're confused, this is actually an example in your book. You can go back and look how the book did it, but it's pretty simple. We know it has to be 7 away from both this line and that line, and where that meets up, we got the center of our circle. Okay? Moving on, last thing is graph. All right? So graph this circle right here. Well, okay. This equation tells us a bunch. It tells us where our center is. If we have our center, if we have a radius, we can absolutely graph a circle. All right, so we know our center is going to be at -2, 3, right? So we can plot that. So -1, 2, 1, 2, 3. There's my center of my circle. Remember, our formula says that this is the radius squared, which means our radius is 4. So we just have to go 4 in each direction. We get a rough estimate of the circle. And obviously, nobody can draw a perfect circle, but we can do a pretty good job. So if we just count 4 to the right, to the left, up and down, we can get a good enough sketch for me. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's one point in the circle. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's another part. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just counting 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And from that, we can get a rough sketch there. Okay? So that's how you graph a circle. Your assignment here is down here at the bottom. And have a good day. If you have any more questions, feel free to watch this video again. Or you can look up equation of a circle on YouTube, and there's all sorts of references for you there. Have a good day today. We'll see you later.